Hi all. Today I'll be showing about how to develop and deploy a customized form for SharePoint list or library through Visual Studio. Let's start up with a basic Visual Studio project. You can either go with SharePoint empty project or you can directly go with the Visual Web part. In this case, I'm directly going with a Visual Web part. Once you select Visual Web part and give your web application name here and deploy it as a form solution, you should see a new project with two files. One is ASCX file and the other one the CS file which is related to ASCX. ASC is pretty much the design or whatever the form your SharePoint list form should look like. I've quickly created my ASCX form in a previous project with a basic 3 SharePoint columns: title, name and gender, and I've written my code on submit button. Here you can see this is my SharePoint list name VS list, and title, name and gender 3 are my SharePoint columns. Coming back to SharePoint, you can see my list name here VS list, and all the 3 columns title, name and gender here. And once I have deployed this solution, you can just say right click and deploy directly. You can see the list, the web part, the visual web part would appear in the list of web parts what you have in SharePoint. Now I'll show how to add your web part as a new form. Go back to list. Here you'll see form web parts. Okay, let me come back again. When you say new item, add a new item, you by default see the out of the box SharePoint new list form, and we are going to hide this, and then in place of this we are going to actually give our own customized list. I would say list form. Go back to your list, go back to list, and in the form web parts on the top you should see default new form, display form and edit form. Now we are interested in default new form. Go to default new form, and this is the existing form. Go to edit web part. You should see a list of options. In layout, you're actually going to hide this and say apply, and then OK. This should actually show you the existing out of the box new form is been hidden. Now we'll go back to add a web part. In custom, you should actually see your demo list visual web part is being deployed, which is here. Demo list visual web part 1. This is being deployed here, and when you add this, see, you should actually see the ASCX page as your new list form. Go back to stop editing and say a new item. This should now bring your default ASCX page as your new form. I would say hello. This is Visual Studio form. I would select submit, and here on submit button must and should you have to give an alert so that it wouldn't stay on the same page, because that's an ASCX page. You would have to write some code for your submit button, like an alert which navigates back to the home page or some page, and then or bring back to the list home page or something. Now when I came back here, you can see a list item is being added, which is says hello, and this is a Visual Studio from, and then says mail. The biggest advantage we have is you can, because it's Visual Studio, you're almost like limitless. You can do whatever you want to do. The reason I had to choose this approach is, in my previous project, I have a requirement to actually pull the data from an external database and SQL database and auto-populate few fields on the list before the list item is being added. Being in clear, say for example you give an employee ID here and you expect the other 5 or 6 columns like first name, last name, designation, salary, everything to auto-populate. So I had to first choose this approach to actually link it to the database and auto-populate few fields. Hope you enjoy my video. Thanks for watching. Take care.